The Free Church of Scotland came to Africa and came to Zambia through Malawi, and when they came, they had a holistic approach to ministry. They were able to preach the Word of God. At the same time, they were able to see which areas they would assist people in society. It is from this point of view that Church of Central Africa Presbyterian, CCAP Synod of Zambia, drives its interest to holistic ministry. We feel we should be involved in holistic ministry because that's what the missionaries brought to us. We feel we should continue to give holistic ministry. We preach the Word of God, at the same time assist them in different fields so that they are able to live a better life. We feel we should assist people also in their lives so that their lives are transformed. By so doing, CCAP Synod of Zambia has opened different departments. One of the departments that we have opened is the Shallow Wells Department. It actually helps people in rural areas have better and protected water. CCAP Synod of Zambia also looks at education. We have so far 14 mission schools which are under CCAP Synod of Zambia. We also have 2 clinics where we are able, in a small way, assist the government, help people in rural areas have the modern medical treatment. We also have the HIV/AIDS department, which focuses on helping people, sensitizing people on HIV and AIDS pandemic. Yeah, we also have community schools. And so far we have 22 community schools, and these community schools trying to help children who are orphans, disadvantaged in society. We don't charge anything to these pupils, but our focus is to assist them have the education. We also have CHE, which is Community Health Evangelism. It's a new department which has just started. While we are evangelizing the Word of God, they should also be taught healthy messages. And we have a department specifically for evangelism. And this department, we're able to spread the Word of God to different areas where CCAP has not opened yet.
Chasefu Mission Station is a brainchild of the Livingstonia Mission of the Free Church of Scotland. The Free Church of Scotland started its work in northeastern Rhodesia in the 1880s. The first mission station in the eastern part of Zambia was at Chiteba in 1882, and the second mission station was at Kazembe in 1887. The Scottish missionaries moved the station from Kazembe to the plateau at a place known as Emusa in 1910. It was from Emusa that the Scottish missionaries again met another challenge of water. There was insufficient water, and they thought of moving the station to another place. In 1913, he selected a place which is known as Chasefu now because of its sufficient water. When Reverend Alexander Halliday arrived in 1930, he started an extensive work of developing the mission station. An 18-roomed house for the missionary was built, classroom blocks were built, a dispensary was built, and an office block was also built. June 1952, what was constructed as institution, as a mission institution, Chasefu, was destroyed. This was after the missionaries from Livingstonia Mission of the Free Church of Scotland had built a lot of infrastructure at Chasefu. For example, dormitories for students, teachers' houses, missionary houses, were all taken over by the colonial government in 1952, including all mission schools which were under Chasefu. The missionaries from the Free Church of Scotland of the Livingstonia Mission wanted to bring dignity, liberty, and freedom, because they were teaching that God has created human beings as equals. So there were no difference between blacks and the whites. So this frustrated the colonial government, and they made sure that the right which was at Chasefu was to be quenched off. But we thank God that the CCP Synod of Zambia on 25th November 2003 repossessed about 11 schools, including Chasefu itself. And the church has started embarking on the infrastructure development, though with many challenges. It's our prayer that God, who started a good work through our missionaries, the Presbyterian missionaries, will again see us through with the work we've just started.
I first visited Chasefu in March 2010 at the invitation of the General Secretary of CCAP Zambia, Reverend Baleka Kabandama. It was just a couple of months after I had arrived in Zambia to begin serving as regional liaison from PCUSA for East Central Africa. At that point, I had begun to get an idea of the depth and breadth of the ministries in which CCAP Zambia is involved. Evangelism, HIV/AIDS work, community schools. But on this trip, I found out that I had still a lot to learn. So we drove from Lusaka 7 hours across Zambia to Chipata, and then we drove another 175 kilometers north to Lundazi, which is the kind of birthplace of CCAP Zambia, and then it was another hour beyond that to get to Chasefu. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but when I got there I was totally amazed, because this theological college was just in the wilderness. There wasn't any electricity, there wasn't any running water. There was one hostel that housed the students and the lecturers during the week when they came to lecture. The classes were being held in one room of the nearby CCAP mission school. The principal there had been kind enough to give the theological college one room that they could use. So that's where all of the studies were taking place. I just couldn't imagine people being kind of camped out in the wilderness the way they were. But as I talked to the students and the lecturers, what I found out was that they just felt so blessed to be in that place, that they were so grateful that there was some place that they could come to study, that they were able to respond to God's call on their lives. So it was a huge conversion experience for me.
We have some instances where a minister would do, even if though it's called a congregation, but it has many preaching points. But if we can have more ministers, we'll be able to divide those congregations so that we can have ministers who can be in those congregations. We had situations where one pastor would pastor 3-4 congregations. And one congregation, for example, Reverend Lavmo Nyurenda, who was my pastor in my congregation, by that time I had not divided it into many congregations. It was one congregation of almost 16 prayer houses, but also about 10 sub-congregations. So you are talking of 26 with one person. And when he goes for visitation, pastoral visitation, 2-3 months, he will just be visiting the congregations. He goes on Tuesday, then he comes back on Friday, he rests on Saturday, Sunday goes to church, Monday he rests, Tuesday he goes again for pastoral visitation. As a church, it has also a vision of having sustainability courses where ministers who are trained there, where pastors who are trained there can also be trained in sustainability. So that as they are trained in sustainability, whether it be agriculture, other skills, they will be able to implement them as they go into their congregations, but not only to implement them, but also to help the congregants to learn such skills. The third reason of having Chasefu Theological College is to have a college that will be able to include a Presbyterian perspective according to the Zambian context.
Since it started its theological training at Chasefu, the church feels it's important that it should even have an agriculture component. That after students are trained in theology, they should also be trained in food security. This food security will not only benefit students, but it also benefit lecturers and the community as a whole. Because it will not just be a benefit to their families as pastors, but wherever they will be, the local people, the people they are going to pastor to, they are also going to learn from them, from the skills they have acquired from Chasefu Theological College. Techniques for Zambian farmers will also be introduced. This will even include organic farming, that people should have better ways of doing agriculture, not only just depending on the fertilizer, which can even destroy the soil, but new methods which should help them produce crops without using these other inputs.
This year, in November, I was privileged to be one of those who witnessed the licensing ceremony of 12 students at Chasefu Theological College. This time is very exciting. We feel so much excited, so much happy, including our families. It is a joyous occasion.
At some point during my many discussions of Chasefu with the CCAP Zambia Synod leaders, they introduced me to the concept of creatio ex nihilo, a Latin term that means creation from nothing. They introduced this phrase to help me recognize that Chasefu was created with so little that it began almost from nothing. In November 2012, despite many struggles and challenges, the first 12 students graduated from Chasefu Theological College from the 3-year Diploma in Theology program. These pastors are already in congregations where they are serving God in their churches and in the communities in many holistic ministries, including education, development, HIV/AIDS, and they are serving with passion, commitment, and love. The development of Chasefu Theological College and Farm in the wilderness in eastern Zambia is a kind of divine adventure. You can be a protagonist in the story. CCAP Zambia is inviting you to help write the next chapter in this wonderful and compelling adventure. The vision, the potential, and the will are there. Are you willing to help CCAP Zambia make their vision a reality? Thank you.
We are focused. We feel we'll make it one day. It may be seen to be a big challenge, but the vision is that we should make it because we are determined to make it. Thank you.
It's clear from the story that our CCAP Zambia Synod friends have told us that the Synod still feels the loss of Chasefu, of the infrastructure there, of it as a symbol of learning and hope. For a Synod such as CCAP Zambia, which operates on a shoestring budget, to have structures destroyed is a real tragedy. It's very difficult to replace them. The costs are great as compared to the finances that the church is able to muster. This church, poor though it is, has grown from 16 congregations in 1984 when the Synod was constituted to 70 congregations now. It's essential for this growing church to have a place where new pastors can be trained cost-effectively in the Presbyterian tradition and theology, and that's really the big objective of the Synod. In addition, the Synod will be happy to restore and grow Chasefu as a center of learning as it was originally intended, and this will help support the church and the nation as well. Right now, in addition to the hostel and the basic school, which were mentioned earlier, existing structures include the historical church building, which dates from 1932, and a lovely restored building that is serving as a library. Building is going forward, so in the past year, a lot of progress has been made on a house for the principal, who will live at Chasefu. They have also constructed bathhouses for the students and replaced the original mud latrines with brick structures. The shallow well has been repaired so it works, but unfortunately in the height of the dry season, September and October, the well is dry, so it's just not deep enough for year-round use. Plans for the future include completing the principal's house, constructing 4 classrooms, and constructing 4 lecturers' house and a guest house. In regard to the farm, the students have been cultivating maize, primarily for their own use. In 2011, they harvested 40 to 50 kilo bags of maize. Plans for the farm are to use the technology typical of a rural Zambian farmer, which is what the pastors will need to use. So traditional farm structures will be constructed. The costs for those will be real minimal. And manual methods will be used for crop farming, and this will include oxen for plowing and people using hoes. The institution will require 2 deep wells called boreholes, one for residential purposes and one for the farm. And there are also plans to install a drip irrigation system for a large vegetable garden that can be used to feed the students and also sell vegetables year-round. Chasefu staff envisions that the farm will become a profit center for the college. Crops will be sold on the market for income. It will be a model of best agricultural practices. This year, 2013, Reverend Gertrude Banda is being sent from CCAP Zambia to the Asian Rural Institute in Japan for 9 months of training in integrated organic farming. She is targeted to become the Chasefu farm manager when she returns. In addition, work has begun on a business plan to look at the issues of sustainability of the institution. The total campaign for Chasefu Theological College and Farm for the infrastructure comes to just about $225,000. This includes principal's house, the classrooms, guest house, lecturers' houses, a kitchen and storeroom, 2 deep wells, and the drip irrigation system for the garden, and livestock, seed, and farm equipment. In addition, there are some funds for contingency and for monitoring and evaluation of the project over 3 years. So the total ticket comes to about $250,000. It's a big project, but we have a big God who is able to do all things. We are suggesting that congregations prayerfully consider raising $1,500 a year for 3 years. We believe with your support, this project will succeed. Thank you.
Come on.